Hello, welcome back to Level 1 News. Today is July 13th, and we're doing business and social technology news.
So much news because it's the beginning of a new quarter.
Oh.
And some quarterly numbers, or I guess this is predictions.
Yeah.
The last quarter was actually not too bad considering everything else, but a downward trajectory, and the estimations are bleak.
Gartner predicts a 9.5% drop in PC shipments. Stark contrast to the 11% increase year over year from 2021 shipments.
But that is a good point because we were in a big upswing.
Yeah.
Look, technology had a big shot in the arm from people being trapped in their homes.
Now, this prediction is based on a bunch of analysts and input and blah, blah, blah. But the reality is that a lot of manufacturers have revised down the orders that they're ordering from manufacturing. See, they have to put in orders now in order to make stuff available in like October, November, December. Those orders right now are not happening. So regardless of what the demand is, the supply is not going to be there in Q4 of this year. That may have an effect on pricing if the analysts are wrong.
They've never been wrong. Now, of course, the big tech companies rely mostly on advertising as their business model, most of them at least. And more, that is being stripped away by laws and infighting among them, like Apple and Facebook and all that stuff. So more and more, they need better ways to get ads in front of you, more invasive and more horrible ways.
This ad company subsidiary is teaming up with U.S. carriers to take over your lock screen. Glance is coming to the U.S., and if you've never heard of it, prepare to hate it. So Glance is already deployed in places like India, and it helps subsidize the cost of a phone. They're going to bring it here.
This makes me want to throw my fist through a wall. But I haven't even seen it really yet.
So yeah, the lock screen will show you, they basically describe it as TikTok on the lock screen, but by an advertising company. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, I would never install that. No, this is the kind of bloatware that you can't get rid of. That
You don't install it.
The phone company puts it on there for you and then makes it so you can't uninstall it.
We don't understand. It's working so well in India and China and places where people don't even have computers a lot of the time.
The solution is just going to have to be to get a dumb phone eventually. Like that's the world we're going to live in. If you can even get a dumb phone.
Yeah, no one's going to want it. You're gonna, like Pine Phone, I would suggest that we all collectively invest in, Pine Phone and the open source options, because this, it ain't, I'll go back to a two-way pager.
Yeah.
Well, the carriers would shut that down. They're in league with them.
Yeah.
I would love to get a fair phone, but I think that's EU only. They
Yeah.
don't do anything in the US.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the guy who wrote that article, he tested a lot of phones, and he was in Germany, but he says, like, okay, you can't actually have this in Germany, but I got some phones from India to test, and they do work here. Just doesn't have any content right now.
Ugh.
And of course, if we're not selling PCs and nobody's spending any money, this follows.
Video game sales set to fall for the first time in years as the industry braces for a recession.
So that's why they're loading up every game with cosmetics and loot boxes and battle passes.
You should follow Level 1 Techs on the forum, because we've got a lot of threads about all the indie games that Ryan's always mentioning on the streams.
It's a golden time.
It really is.
Indie games. So good. And a lot of them are going back to this low price with a demo model.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful.
I actually really like some of the threads on the forum where it's like, I discovered Vampire Survivors as a result of blah, 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 and I'm getting more enjoyment out of it than this $60 thing.
AAA studio game.
Yeah, and that's the reality we're in now.
It's $2.
Might as well try it.
Not only that, but you're helping, you're not propping up some studio. You're not propping up like
Microsoft.
Yeah, it's like if 1 million people buy that dude's game for a couple of dollars, he's probably not going to have to work for at least a couple of years.
He might make more games that we like.
It'll be time to do stuff. It's like, you guys supporting us, so we've got time. There's time now.
And Apple has not had a real blockbuster hardware offering in quite some time. For a while there, they were known as like really changing the game and really revolutionizing things. Not for a lot of years.
Tangential to that, but I want to just work this in on the, because we have the M2. The M2, they juiced the wattage and cooling and all this other kind of thing. It didn't occur to me until recently that means that not the phone is prioritized. So like, not only is Apple not coming out with really any amazing hardware, the M2 and everything that it is doesn't really super work well in the phone form factor because of the power requirements and everything else. They're hitting the same wall as everybody with their stuff. So they're just having to reach around and do things other than innovation.
Because everybody's already got a phone.
Right.
And they're not upgrading the way they used to.
Yeah.
But if you're too extreme and your phone keeps getting destroyed.
Apple reportedly plans to launch an extreme sports Apple Watch with a larger screen and a metal casing. I wonder if it's going to be more durable, because just because it's a larger screen and a metal case doesn't mean that it's going to be more durable.
Well, they said the glass was tempered more, which means raises the question, why don't you just do that for all of them?
Yeah.
Isn't that the number one damage that they take?
Also, a larger screen. I mean, I guess that's nicer to interact with, but like, again, that's just more opportunity to bust it.
I'll never forget Tim Cook lying to me and saying, "Oh, it's basically artificial sapphire. The screen is never going to break." That was lies.
I've noticed that a lot of like really sort of like bro guys, like soldiers and cops and stuff, they all have massive watches. That's like a thing. Like, I don't know if it's a status or whatever, but you would think with an athletic watch, you would want less watch, right?
I would also
more
think
out of the
that,
way.
Yeah.
No, it's got to be big.
But then, like, the developers and stuff like that I know, they always have the calculator watch, the Casio. That's every single one. If you're in the comments, do you have one? Because most people I know.
You know somebody right now that's rocking one of those?
Yes.
Wow.
I know a few people who are rocking one of those.
They were so impractical.
Steve Wozniak has a Nixie tube watch where he hits a button and a real
so
Nixie tube.
stupid.
Yeah. Well, Steve Wozniak is desperate for attention. Oh, and the drought. Everybody loves the drought. It's a
That's
bit
some
of
good doom scroll.
Yeah, it's a bit of an existential
Threat?
peak, because I mean, it really is going to be terrible, and we're so close to it, and not a lot's changing. We're just kind of cruising along. And one of the biggest problems, I mean, in my mind, where we start here, where the obvious first step is, and I bet this would save so much, NSA,
Yeah.
right? NSA has like basically little cities that are just data centers. You know what we should do? We should turn off the water.
The West drought could bring about a data center reckoning. This article goes into talk numbers about different data centers, how much water they use. It's actually a pretty closely guarded secret. In fact, Google sued, Idaho, to stop a public disclosure of their actual water usage. But this goes on record to say that Microsoft thinks that they have a way to collect rainwater to actually have negative water usage by maybe 2025.
What rainwater?
Yeah,
It's not raining out there. That's the problem.
You know what? We have another thing that's really good at catching rainwater, Lake Mead.
Yeah, they're still down by, 20, 30 million barrels of water.
Yeah.
So,
The mountain's also really good at catching rainwater and then letting it melt. They're also not catching it.
a little bit of a problem. We're going to have a fun story later about how they want to pipe the floodwater from Colorado.
From Kansas to Arizona.
I don't think that's going to work out for them.
I think China moves it a lot farther.
Yeah.
China moves it from the south to the north over all that landmass. Of course, it took them years and billions of dollars to do that. Probably more than billions. Well, augmented reality and the metaverse and everything, we keep hearing about it. Everybody tells us it's the next big thing, but the hardware, where is it? You can't really buy it. And if you could, you'd have to buy it from Mark Zuckerberg. I'm never doing that, right? So maybe there's a new thing, but this, to me, this sounds like, remember the Pebble, or what was the name of the one that had the rock monster that threw rocks at you?
Bigfoot?
Oh, the AR headset. Yeah, that just evaporated.
That just never
Yeah.
came. That's what I think this is.
Smart contact lens prototype puts a micro LED display on top of the eye. The Mojo lens has a micro LED display that you control with your eyes.
That is not, this is a stock photo?
Yeah, that's absolutely a stock photo.
Because they say it doesn't work this easily. Let's take a look at what it actually looks like. It doesn't look quite so lovely.
It's a little bulky.
I don't think you can see through it.
They've got like Kaiser Fleshing rings on the
There's a
or
tear
whatever
down.
flesher.
Nice to know that you can still get the coloration on it.
The pupils are huge.
Well, because it's got you're going to be dilated because there's light coming out of that thing. They described what it can do so far. Very unimpressive. It's like a single color image that moves a little bit. Why even put that article out there? Why admit to the world that you've accomplished nothing? Now, if you're hot for a new kind of processor, maybe you want to get into the old RISC-V stuff. It seems like there's a lot of big things building in RISC-V, although this one I don't think will have great support quite yet. It's just for developers.
the first RISC-V laptop announced with a quad-core CPU and 16 gigs of RAM, and yes, it boots Linux, because of course it does. It is not for early adopters. It is not for your daily driver, but you can get it done.
Now, I don't like the first line of their press release at all.
A Web3 friendly platform with NFT creation and publication pulls interactive MetaMask style wallet. Yeah, we don't.
I don't want any of that.
That's just word soup.
When you dig into it, this is a Chinese company, I think, that's working on this. And so this has got to be also like the whole, Belt and Road sanction thing, because RISC-V would be really good for China if it's a little bit further along, assuming that things go sideways in the not too distant future.
I don't know if that'd be good for them or not, because they have to steal it. So they have to wait for somebody else to build it, and now they're getting caught more and more doing that. I don't know, maybe they'll transition into doing things themselves. Doesn't seem like it. This was a late update. This just happened yesterday. And oh boy, is Jeff Bezos probably not having a good day.
Furious.
Do you think he sent some angry emails this morning?
Probably, yes. Workers in Campbellsville, Kentucky look to join the Amazon labor union. They got some quotes from the it's not really a leader, but like one of the employees that is working on organizing this. And he seems to have some pretty good evidence that Amazon's been spying on them and doing some things that are not allowed.
Well, he was like a lot of these people. He was he was a big activist for this kind of thing. He was printing stuff out, handing it out. Ooh, do they not like that? More importantly, he was going in on his day off. Can you imagine caring so much about something that you get one day away from that hellish warehouse and you decide to go back? Well, Amazon heard about that.
Amazon bars off-duty warehouse workers from its buildings. Yes. This includes, you can't come in early for your shift. You can't leave late for your shift.
What if you forget something in your locker?
You're not allowed. You're not allowed to come back.
It's more and more like prison every day.
It really is.
The press release from Amazon misleadingly says, well, employees can get together anywhere else other than Amazon. We just don't want the liability. It's curious because this wasn't a problem until the whole unionization thing.
Well, we have not exactly, but very close to a year and a half to wait until a beautiful, beautiful date when we'll have so much creativity. The memes of this are going to be so good. And we've already gotten it for Winnie the Pooh. And look how amazing that was. He turned into a murderer almost immediately.
The person in this article does not understand how things work, or he's paid.
Oh my God. The shilling in here was incredible. But of course, I say a year and a half. What's more likely to happen is that Disney reshapes law to its will, which has already happened twice.
Disney could soon lose exclusive rights to Mickey Mouse. But what you think of as Mickey Mouse is going to be protected for probably another 50 or 60 years.
They'll just keep extending it.
What actually will lose copyright is the Mickey Mouse scene in Steamboat Willie, which is from 100 years ago. The copyright should have been given up on that millennia ago. That's just... no. So, copyright is not supposed to be perpetual. In effect, it is, but it shouldn't be. Things should enter the public domain after the creator. You got to balance. I created this thing. It is good for society, and it was good for me. It was good for me for a limited time, and now it'll be good for everybody else from now until the end of time. It's a very simple... The mouse doesn't need to be part of the equation from now until the end of time. And to say that it is rent-seeking hideousness.
I think probably what you should start doing right now, start amassing your stockpile of Steamboat Willie anime porn. And then when that date comes, just flood it.
Drop it all on
OnlyFans. You're going to have an amazing OnlyFans. The furry community will love it.
It's nuts because Sherlock Holmes, some of the Sherlock Holmes copyrights have expired, but not all of them. And so if your story is based on Sherlock Holmes with character development up to a certain point, that is okay. But the people that have that still own the copyright interest in Sherlock Holmes, after a certain point, there were certain developments in the story. And if your story incorporates the things that happened after the copyright date of those things, then they will sue you. That's how insane this is. And that's just, Sherlock Holmes. That's not even something as gargantuan as Disney. You can imagine the The rat,
the iron fist that Disney holds all its IP with.
Yeah, I mean, Disney is famous for some of its rat finkery.
The 3-fingered iron fist.
The white gloved iron fist.
And we have had, electric vehicles have been catching on more and more, and we are running out the clock during all of that time on those subsidies. And the time is up for another automaker. Tesla's already out.
Toyota will be the third automaker to lose the EV tax credit in the U.S., following GM and Tesla. I'm honestly impressed that GM sold that many electric cars.
Yeah, well, they had to recall them all.
That doesn't count.
Tomato, that's fine.
Why does that count under tax law? That shouldn't count.
It shouldn't exist at all. They should not be able to pick winners. That's ridiculous. I was so excited to read this story. This is it's a pinnacle of hope, not from the companies and the government, the powers that be, that we know will never change, but the people standing against it.
Yeah.
Now, I think a lot of this comes from people just being broke.
Yeah.
They didn't say what the floor was.
There was a floor. I looked that up.
Oh, what's the
what
number?
was it?
They didn't give me a number, but
That's what I'm saying. They didn't say there was a floor, but they didn't say what the number was.
At the time, I think it was like 68,000 U.S. equivalent.
That makes no sense because this car, a resale right now, is going to be worth over 100 easily. So maybe people were just angry about it. I don't know.
No bids on Chevy's first NFT, even though it came with a free Corvette Z06.
Or maybe people who are really into cars and Corvettes don't care about NFTs.
But you get that car. I would give you $65,000 for that car right now.
You like to go fast.
I'd sell it. I'd say it's a one of a kind, and it's all pimped out. It's got all the body effects and everything, all the features. Although if you read
the color,
if you read the fine print, it's like supply chain issues. It may not actually have all these features.
You like air conditioning? This car doesn't have that.
But I guess this is the NFT, and then of course the car comes with it. But nobody wanted it.
The proceeds were supposed to go to a charity, so I feel like the charity got screwed.
Yeah, a little
They
bit.
should just give the charity the car and let them auction it.
Yeah, exactly. That's it's like, oh, the charity lost out. No, it didn't.
Well,
give them the car and let them sell it however they see fit.
You'd think too that they'd be like, oh, maybe this just wasn't a fit for our audience. But no, the guy in the article was like, we just think that, we've learned a lot from this lesson and we're just going to keep forging ahead with this. Mm-hmm. Nobody wanted it.
This is what happens when you have an ad agency that's trying to wield technology and has no clue.
Yeah.
Now for this one, I feel like we need the big board where it's like, it has been X days since Microsoft was anti-consumer.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, put it back to zero.
Put it back to zero.
Ars Technica's headline is Microsoft's xCloud game stream looks worse on Linux than Windows. Ars tests show a distinct visual downgrade when you're playing on Linux. So I'll give you a very simple explanation for this, maybe. And that is somebody inside Microsoft was looking at the user agent string, because all you have to do is change the user agent string. If you change the user agent string of your xCloud gaming client to say Windows instead of Linux, because it'll run on Linux fine, then the visual fidelity problems go away. I think somebody inside Microsoft assumed that you must be on an Android device, like a phone, if it has Linux in the user agent, because it does on Android. And they didn't consider Linux on the desktop because... the Penguin operating system, come on.
From the screenshots I looked at, I didn't think it was like that dramatic, but there's a little bit of a difference.
It is sort of crazy that they're making decisions about whether or not to send you, phone grade or desktop grade based on the user agent. It seems like you control the client software here, Microsoft. Maybe give some telemetry to it's like, oh, the native device resolution of the device that we're connecting from is a phone, not the user agent.
But people would override that because they don't want the crappy phone one on the phone. People want the full experience on the phone.
I guess it is kind of a pain to change your user agent on a phone.
The full experience on the phone.
Yeah, I can't imagine
how terrible
streaming
that would be.
and playing with phone controls. It's just astonishing. But the youth are into it.
There's somebody inside Asus on the ROG phone team that's just screaming at their Microsoft rep. It's like, we invented this phone for gaming and you do this to us?
Now, this is becoming a new weekly feature where we just talk about crypto that's failed.
Yeah.
Voyager Digital has filed for bankruptcy. It turns out they loaned Three Arrows $666 million.
Ooh.
Guess who's not going to get their $666 million back? As a result, they're going under.
Ooh.
That's just gone. Now, these guys had the right idea, but they managed to fail even though they had the right direction in the market.
Uprise lost 99% of client funds while shorting Luna during its price crash.
Shorting during a crash? Isn't that success? No. They managed to
Short it enough.
No, they were trying to buy the dips and they got it wrong every time.
Ooh.
Astonishing. And of course, just keep naming them. How many crypto firms are there? It's amazing how many popped up during that time.
Crypto platform Vauld has suspended withdrawals and trading deposits amid financial challenges. Oh my gosh, they were operating. All of these companies were operating on the growth of crypto, which maybe was a bad idea.
This is like mushrooms after a storm.
Yeah,
And
They pop up and then they're gone.
And the current economic cycle is like my zero turn.
I don't know. Even if you're invested in the stock market, it's down like 37%.
Oh, I looked at my 401k yesterday.
Oh, yeah, I got that email.
And I had to go unload all my guns.
I just don't even look at it. I was like, no good
It's
news.
like 37%. Yeah, it's not great.
It's real bad. Well, always online games. Everybody loves those, right? They're the most popular thing ever. And especially when they're used to, it's one of those situations where it's like, oh, well, the servers are down on day one. You just can't play. But don't worry, it'll get better. And these will be here forever, right? Because we'll run these servers till the end of time.
I'm okay with this, but I'm not okay with what comes next. Ubisoft is going to shut down multiplayer for older games, including Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. Hey, that's fine. They want to do that. It's totally okay. There's already an open source movement to provide servers for these, but Ubisoft is going to send cease and desist letters and shut them down, and that's the part I'm not okay with.
How about just don't have that? If you're going to have it, make it completely optional so the games are fine without it. It's ridiculous.
You know what's fun? There's still Quake 2 multiplayer servers on the public internet.
Gmod is the same way. Like, people run their own servers.
Yeah. Just saying. It's possible.
I remember Quake 2 when I got that Voodoo 2 and those lighting effects, and you're like, this is the most amazing game ever. And you go back and look at it now, it's like everything was brown. This was just a brown game. Everything about this. It was terrible looking, but we were blown away by it.
Wow. Have you replayed it with the RTX on, like the ray tracing?
There's like 5 shades of brown now.
Yeah, there's not only is there like 5 shades of brown now, the lighting. I had the lighting effect experience all over again. It was really good.
I mean, there are more impressive games to showcase that. And Google getting off light here.
Yeah.
This is cheap for Google.
Google to pay $90 million to settle legal fight with app developers, and this really probably wasn't enough. This is from Reuters.
So they point out that 90
We get paywalled every time by Reuters now.
Reuters paywall you can beat, just turn off JavaScript, so I don't bother replacing these. Pro tip if you're reading the one tab. But it was going to be 90 million, and they estimated so far there was like 45,000 eligible apps.
Yeah.
And so the money breakdown gets pretty bad. I think the minimum you're allowed to get is $250.
Yeah.
Which, compared to what they did.
Yeah, you're getting off pretty easy.
This is all about not letting you use your own payment processors and locking you in and all that stuff. So all that suffering that you had, it's worth $250.
Meanwhile, somebody inside Google is saying, but Roblox takes 90%. We're leaving money on the table, guys. Meanwhile, app developers, especially the small ones, are just, I don't know what I'm going to do because of the prices of stuff.
Well, I mean, you shouldn't have based your whole income on app development. Come on.
You need a side hobby like a podcast.
That should be your side hobby. You should have a real job, and then that should be your side hobby. Now, we have seen this headline so many times. Every major company has done it. We've seen it from Google. We've seen it from Apple. We've seen it from Amazon, with books from Amazon as well.
Yeah.
And so now Sony stepping up to the plate.
PlayStation Store will remove customers' purchased movies, because of course they will, due to evolving licensing agreements.
You don't own that movie.
This was from, what was the name of the studio?
I don't remember.
Studio Canal. And it's actually quite a list.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Look at all that. I don't recognize very many of these, but I don't watch a lot of movies either.
Guess what? In federal law, you as a consumer taking action to preserve your stuff
Library.
it's not codified in law. Taking a risk if you back it up.
The entire Saw franchise just gone overnight.
Amazon actually got in some trouble recently. Well, not trouble, but some people were upset about it because they changed the ebook versions of Lord of the Rings from the original covers to their new TV show covers. And people were pissed.
Might I suggest you peruse some of the Level 1 home server videos to set up your own home server to avoid such rat finkery.
Except you just explained why that's illegal.
It's not illegal.
Yet.
It's just not really been super tested.
But not if you pull them off of those servers. If you got it from Sony, it would be. You're going to have to rip them from some other source.
Yeah, you might be okay if you can play it on your TV somehow and record it as a different source. Maybe.
Oh, we've definitely seen lawsuits about that. Now, this one doesn't have a big tech tie-in. This is kind of a low-tech device, but it has to do with right to repair and just how miserable and horrific companies are when it comes to this kind of thing.
The U.S. FTC settles with Weber Grills over the right to repair.
So, think about how many parts are on a grill.
Not a
They're
lot.
fairly basic machines. I think the Weber ones are kind of fancy, but
They're not all, though.
if you were to replace a part on a Weber grill with a non-Weber part and a non-Weber authorized center, you would be out of warranty completely, which is illegal. So they've said, "Oh, okay, we'll honor that now."
This to me wasn't as egregious as some of the stuff. I'm still watching the case with Honda. So like a lot of stuff had disappeared from Thingiverse and other online 3D printable parts repositories for Honda vehicles. Because you can 3D print a lot of stuff that breaks commonly on Hondas. Like, the little screw covers for like the handles over the door. You can 3D print those. And Honda, for some reason, doesn't want people to be able to 3D print that.
Because they're selling those for $25 a piece at the dealerships.
How dare you do that for free?
Yeah.
Or low cost.
Yeah, that is like, as members of a society, that should be the death penalty for whoever has orchestrated that kind of nonsense.
The people who orchestrate that kind of nonsense pay our lawmakers.
Yeah, we have no say. It's like, this is obviously stupid.
And they become our lawmakers.
Yeah.
And then they rotate back out and go back to Honda.
But no one in a civilized society would actually want that.
We don't live in a civilized society. Have you seen Twitter? Well, Facebook, they work hand in hand with law enforcement. Now, they do claim that they fight back against these kinds of requests, and they do some lip service about it, but it seems like they are more eager to make the government happy in order to get them to come off their back on all those other things, those horrible things that they do. It seems like they give them what they want when it's not them on the line, but someone else.
An Air Force vet who worked at Facebook is suing the company, saying it accessed deleted user data and shared it with law enforcement. Well, the title's a little misleading. An Air Force vet who worked at Facebook is suing the company for wrongful dismissal because he says it's retaliation because he raised ethical issues because Facebook was sharing user-deleted information with law enforcement on request. So it's like people will delete their information. They would assume it's deleted, close their account. Well, it turns out Facebook was maybe hanging on to that.
So he blew that whistle. Facebook knew they couldn't come after him for that because, boy, that would be terrible PR, right? So they just observed him, and then his grandmother her Facebook got hacked. How much do you think that could have been inside?
Probably.
Could have easily been Facebook doing that. So she knew, hey, grandson works at Facebook. I'll just dial him up. And she did. And she was like, oh, hey, Facebook got hacked. And he's like, don't worry, Grandma, I'm all over this. He put her email into their little tool that they have internally. But because that was not a real support request that he was assigned, he was fired for putting her name in there, her email address.
That does seem like a wrongful termination slam dunk, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. I mean, he was abusing the tool, but it turned out Grandma was hacked, and he was able to help her. So,
which is what his job role was.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's they subscribe to the Bezos, school of managerial thought when it comes to.
At best, they could argue that she jumped in front of the
queue,
line.
yeah.
But is that enough to fire somebody?
No.
And maybe just be like, hey, next time, don't immediately do that, or like run it by your supervisor.
Yeah.
Now, for the longest time, I refused to use Spotify because Spotify only worked with social media logins. Remember that dark time?
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm never doing it. I'm never doing a Facebook login. I just simply will not. I will just suffer and not enjoy your product. I think they understand that mentality. But I think that they think that we think this idea is going to be any different.
Oh,
It
man.
will not.
There was a quote from Zuckerberg, and it's just the most tone-deaf thing I've ever seen. Meta is dumping Facebook logins for VR headsets and everything else as its metaverse ID system. So right now, today, or within a couple of days, or very soon, if you've got the VR headset already, because remember the whole Lucky Palmer Oculus thing, you don't have to have a Facebook account. You have to have this other account. It's totally not just a thin wallpaper of something else over your old Facebook login.
Now you could
Totally not the same.
You could connect your Facebook and Instagram logins if you wanted, but you don't have to. And there's certainly no way that's well documented that Facebook already ties those together and tracks you everywhere on the web.
The quote from Mark Zuckerberg is like, you said you didn't want a Facebook account. We heard, we're listening. No, this is the definition of not listening at all.
No, it's a metaverse account. Totally different. I don't know what you're talking about.
Enjoy some sweet baby rays.
I think I'll probably never play Minecraft again for the same reason.
Yeah. Oh, I got that email.
Yeah.
Apparently I bought a copy at some point.
Yeah.
And they're like, you have to do this if you want to keep, and it's,
I'm willing. I like Minecraft. I think it's a fantastic game, but I'm willing to never play it again.
I'll probably have to play it again because I always judge the Minecraft server. And I like to play on the Minecraft server. Yeah.
Can we support that next year?
People really love it.
Is there something we could
Someone made
switch
map art of you.
Oh, now
So now
got
we've
it.
all had map
yeah.
art made. Yeah.
Well, we talked about this a little bit in the government section. This has to do with Europe and Facebook's fight. And Facebook, much like they did in Australia, is playing chicken here. You got to wonder how far they'll go.
Europe faces Facebook blackout. Ireland's data authority informs the EU counterparts that it will block the platform from sending user data to US. Facebook said, well, that would probably make the website stop working. You do you. We'll let you know.
Most likely we're going to end up with your EU Facebook. That'll be different than all the other Facebooks.
I wonder if it's going to be different than US TikTok, where it's in the Oracle Data Cloud in the US, but there's also a copy of it not in the US.
I read all these stories about how like we're gonna make separate versions of basically like our website for everybody. And it's like, is this what the people who made the internet envisioned? Where
No.
everyone was partitioned like that? Like,
I'm pretty sure interconnected network
Yeah.
was supposed to bring us together.
Bring us all to. Maybe that's what we need. It's like we can't agree on all the nonsense that everybody's riled up on Twitter about, but we can all agree that you should be able to 3D print replacement parts for your owned Honda.
See, that's the thing about it. I think we mostly do agree, but it doesn't matter because we don't have power.
We not only do we not have power, anytime that we start to realize that we don't have the power and maybe we need to do something about it, people start screaming about things that people disagree about, and that makes everybody hate everybody else, and we can't accomplish the things that we all agree on.
Like, look at the poll numbers for the U.S., Canada, certainly the U.K.
We see you in the UK. We see your suffering. We feel it too.
If we're going along the lines of, hey, let's just all agree on something, we agree. We're mostly on the same page. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all.
My favorite clip yesterday, not the yakety sax clip, like the stoic BBC reporter outside of Parliament, trying to say that Bojo had resigned, and it's just yakety sax blaring in the background. That was funny.
the reporter started to laugh at the end of the segment. She was like, I know you can hear the music in the background.
But there was another clip where they just picked some. It was a she was probably about 25, and they just flagged her down off the street, and they said, "What do you think about Bojo resigning?" And she's like, "Oh, has he? I've just come from work. I didn't know. Well, that's a bit of good news today."
Just like the most mild, like, oh,
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah.
It was so funny.
But I think that reaction is explained by the fact that she knows, as a person with an IQ in the triple digits, that nothing will change.
Yeah, I mean that's basically.
And I think we can all agree, hopefully, and maybe not. I am out of touch. I'll admit, I'm not with it. I don't understand the youth, but I hope that we're all against this.
Yeah, this is kind of dumb. Reddit will sell collectible avatars, quote unquote, and yes, they're NFTs. They're blockchain-backed digital items that are available in /r/collectible avatars.
This guy online did it first, son. Guy online had like holiday events, and they would release special cosmetic items for your avatar like this. And then there was a marketplace, and people would spend their Gaia gold to get them. This is just the same thing. We've seen it already. It's just like 15 years old at this point.
I feel like this would be more successful were it not tainted by NFT, because
Right.
this is like, look at Steam Cosmetics. Gabe was doing this with knives and skins in various Valve games way before any of this, and it was very profitable for Steam without being terrible. Like, everything was like $1 or $2 or 50 cents or 25 cents. Remember when you would get the free cards, and after you got 1,000 free cards, you could get a free game because they were all worth like 10 cents each? That was fine. These are like $200,000. Well, not these specifically, but the other NFT stuff. What were you saying?
Oh, just same thing. I feel like we shouldn't have to do this at all. Like, why?
I've got so many cards. I'm gonna, hopefully Steam survives, so that someday when I'm 80, there's gonna be a small town interest piece about the old man who sold all of his Steam cards and bought a new truck or whatever.
Yeah, I'd had them since I was a young man.
I have a feeling it's probably going to be more like you sold all your Steam cards so that you can afford to live in the home for another year.
Dialysis.
And then they don't put you in the sleep pod.
I got 6 months worth of dialysis for those cards.
I was thinking like a truck so you could drive through the wasteland and get potatoes.
Or a gallon of fuel.
Yeah.
Oh.
I can't decide which story you think should come first. Because it's definitely cause and effect, right?
Yeah.
Let's start with the cause. So we've heard this for a while, and we've always I believed it. I mean, it's very easy,
unbelievable, yeah.
very easy to believe. But now we have admission.
TikTok confirms some China-based employees can access U.S. user data, even though all the user data probably really is stored in the U.S. They said they made changes to their service and everything's stored in the U.S. It does look like they're using the Oracle Cloud to do that, but that doesn't mean the data isn't also piped somewhere else, or it isn't accessible elsewhere in the world.
Yeah, somebody has a dashboard login in China, and while they may not be on the books CCP, come on. They're for sure CCP. And of course, we already had a lot of politicians who were going after TikTok, so this really gave them ammunition.
An FCC regulator wants TikTok removed from the app stores. Here's how the company executive responded. We reported on that, and the company executive just said, it's fine. We're using the Oracle Cloud, which didn't really directly answer anything.
But sir, and he's like, no, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it.
It's fun and ambivalent videos.
Just keep scrolling, people. Just keep scrolling. Nothing to see here.
Also, we're being a little hypocritical. Well, not really hypocritical. We're doing it for the memes. We do have a TikTok now, I think.
Yeah, but we don't know what to do with it.
No. Well, it's our Amber, who you guys know. She suggested we try it out to put some short vids on. And
we might do a separate shorts channel with just me blowing things up.
Oh, wow. They're going to comment on that.
The mistakes on the thing. No, it's
but
going
it
to be
won't
separate.
be. Yeah, it won't be in the main feed, so you guys won't get spammed with it if you don't want to be.
Yeah, they're still not going to like it.
Well,
a lot of the anti-TikTok people are very vocal.
I mean, I don't want TikTok for myself, but I can see why it might be good for marketing purposes as much as I hate it.
The TikTok is so bad that it's just shocking. It's like,
put your phone in the microwave.
Yeah, to speed up your internet, just put your laptop in the microwave. And it's like, no, don't do that. It's like, change these settings on your NIC. No, don't do that. You should make your MTU 1000 and it'll speed things up. No, please no.
And finally, the biggest story from a couple of months ago has been sort of just languishing. We didn't know what was happening. We knew that Elon Musk had the fire hose, but what was it teaching him? Well, we're still not certain, but it seems like he doesn't like what he sees.
It's looking more like Elon Musk could bail on buying Twitter. So there's some things that are not really super well covered in this. There's more details in the article, but first thing is that he was buying followers on Twitter up to his birthday and then stopped after his birthday. It's what it looks like based on the patterns, like independent analysis. People looked at it and said, what's going on with this? So that's probably where some of the commenting and stuff came out with. But that also suggests that he knew
That you could buy followers.
Yeah, that you could buy followers and the bot problem and things like that. The other thing is that he had kids. We'll cover this in the nonsense section, I think. But he has twins with his Neuralink chief executive at the same time that he was having a kid with what's her name?
To be fair, they were a week apart.
They were a week apart. Okay, they were born a week apart. But buying Twitter may have been a distraction to
hide all of his personal problems.
Do you think
with
he's
his
willing?
10 million children.
He wants to burn $1 billion just to change the PR.
The man's got an ego, and he's got a lot of money. So
it's a question. So, and if they have actually the text of the contract in here, you can read in this article, and it's whoever. It's basically chicken, right? Whoever pulls out first loses the $1 billion. But then there's also a date. I think it's August 27th or something like that. Mm. So on August 27th, or no, October 24, something happens with this contract, and then something has to be decided then, or a 6-month extension automatically kicks in. I don't know what the pitfalls of that are, but it seems like he's just trying to run the clock.
Mm-hmm. Terrifying.
Twitter continues to be horrible.
He's playing some kind. I don't know if it's 4D chess, maybe 3.1D chess. I don't know.
Well, he's playing chess the way that he's used to playing chess, which is where you get the traditional set of chess pieces, and he gets 5 different sets because he's the richest man in the world.
And then if you start to actually win against all odds, he just flips the chessboard.
Well, he just adds more pieces as he sees fit. And he's got Peter Thiel and all these other guys just giving him their pieces as well. So it's real tough to beat him. But he sucks at chess.
Yeah. His official comment on Twitter was, "I'm doing what I can to offset the declining birth rate."
I mean, in terms of how to spin that headline, it was pretty good. Pretty good effort. There's not much you can say, right?
You can tell that he put some thought into it, unlike his other Twitter posts, because he knew that question was coming.
Or his family.
His kids were like, "Hey, Dad, do you want to come throw a basketball?" And he's like, "I can't right now, son." He's just tweeting.
Also, I mean, we'll talk about it when it comes up in the nonsense. I mean, tune in for Friday. But the girl, the Neuralink girl, crazy eyes. She's got the crazy eyes.
Do you think that, in a few years, that there will be really, really, really awkward family Christmases?
No, those kids, he's never going to see those kids at Christmas. What are you talking about?
He'll send them some gifts, maybe. His assistant will send them some gifts.
They will have, the best upbringing. They'll have the best education and whatever that means. They'll probably end up being like TikTok stars or something.
That's a lot of emotional trauma, maybe.
Well, clearly, we've already seen one go a little wacky. So
we'll see you on Friday.
Yeah. Bye.